Nationals.
Okay.
And then around the time that New Phyrexia came out and before the bannings, it was really hard to win games against Cause, so I kind of scrapped the deck for a little while. And then I researched with it recently and played. I got my first PTQ top 8 with it, and I 4-0'd the first day I constructed at Nationals with it, and I top 8'd in Chicago at the 75K a few weeks ago with it.
So you've played this a ton, then.
I have run this deck. Every single number in this deck is absolutely to what I want it to be. So this deck is just, I mean, I don't think it's the best deck in Standard, but it's a deck that I've played so much and have so much practice, and I know how to outplay with any situation that it's just the deck I'm the best with. And I play against my friends play group or a lot, and the same guys that I play against know how to play against it. So I get a lot of practice against people who just can dominate me because they know the right plays. And then when I play at like big events like this, nobody really has a lot of experience.
Don't know what's coming out of your deck. And yeah, I mean, like you said, one of the biggest advantages is at the end of the day, playing what you know has a huge advantage. Because you know your deck in and out. You know interactions your opponent might not think of. So let's talk about the deck a little bit. So you're just a little different from a lot of Tezzeret builds. It might ramp up something larger, or go for a more aggressive take, or various different things. So first of all, you have the Tezzeret's Gambit, Contagion Clasp, Everflowing Chalice, Proliferate Agent, Pebble Magnet. But you don't really have anything high-end to ramp into. There's no Wormcoil engines, no cards, nothing like that. Did you try those cards out and just decide they were too slow? Or
when I started with Shapen's List, which had the Treasure Mage package with Wormcoil and Mindslaver, I found that there were just, because I'm playing 22 lands, there were just a lot of hands where I'd have a Mindslaver and I'd have to mulligan. And then before I qualified for Nats, I changed that. I cut that, and I had like another Jace the Mind Sculptor. And so when I came back to the list again, I just cut the Jaces and put in Gambits to see how I'd play. And I eventually cut the Spheres. I had Sphere of the Suns, but when I didn't have to play Jace, I didn't have to get that second colored mana as important.
Very true.
So like if you look at all my spells in the deck, I mean, every spell in the deck is 4 Blast, 4 Preordain, 2 Black Suns, and 4 Gambits. That's all I think that's all the colored mana spells, and all of them are 1 mana. And so is everything out of my board. So other than Black Sun, I mean, Black Sun is something that it's just the best sweeper because I have a lot of mana. Like you said, I have a lot of mana and nothing to ramp into, so Black Sun ends up being the best sweeper for me. But so I was able to cut Spheres and just play 4 Chalices, and that adds to the Proliferate engine, like you said, and allows you to get to where there's nothing to ramp into, but you get to a point where you can animate, Tar Pit, play Batterskull, equip it, attack. You get these cute little plays that cost 1,000 mana to do. But you can do that, and that's why I'm playing Batterskull instead of Wormcoil Engine, because once I hit 8 mana, Batterskull just becomes an unkillable threat.
Yeah, so. And it's still very powerful. It comes out turn earlier, blocks really nicely. Seems like you've got a lot of cards in here dedicated to beating on the creature decks. You've got Zenith, Galvanic Blast, even Contagion Clasp, Brittle Effigy. Did you find that the beatdown decks were a bad matchup for you?
Really, the key to the deck, I think, is just having a cheaper answer to everything your opponent's playing, because my curve, like you said, my curve is really low. My curve tops out at 4 Tezzerets and Batterskull, and then the Gambit's the next expensive spell, not including the Black Suns in it. So really, my key is just like always being able to keep hands that just have do-nothing artifacts in 2 or 3 lands, and it allows me to develop my board presence without ever having to get really a clunky draw. I find that like when I would try like blue-black Tezzeret, I would want to play like Solemn Simulacrums and higher ramp stuff, and it just sometimes it makes for awkward draws. Sometimes you get tech edged off a land and you really just can't recover. But with this deck, people try to tech edge me off my 3-color mana base, but because I have Prism and everything is so cheap in the deck, it usually doesn't pay off for them. And really, it's just about like having Clasp to answer the first Squadron Hawk. A lot of times I put the 4th Clasp in. I've had 3 for a while. I put the 4th one in because versus Cause, sometimes they'll just play a Squadron Hawk and try to pressure you with it. But if you just play a Clasp and respond, I mean, they either have to leak your Clasp or they have to commit another Hawk, and so you're just you have a permanent on the board. You're answering their card, and you have a permanent on the board, and that works towards the scenario where you have 8 mana and you can slam a Tezzeret, proliferate, and instant kill, like a combo kill.
Yeah.
So really it's just about having a cheaper answer. Tumble Magnet answers big Titans, Clasp answers any 1/1. Having Blast is the most insane card. I mean, you notice that the only 4 red spells in my main deck are 4 Galvanic Blasts.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And so you're just some other stuff has like Koth and things like that, but Blast is so important. You just want to have it.
Yeah, well, like in Koth, if you move to Koth or you move to anything like that, you have to really shore up the mana base a lot because you have to try to get that double. And I only have 2 mountains in the deck. I mean, I'm kind of riding the line. I've been doing it for a while though with the 4 Scalding Tarns and the 4 basics. But I mean, sometimes they hit you with a Sword of Feast and Famine, and you got that extra Skull and Turn, so sometimes it pays off. But Yeah, it's really just a cheap mana deck. I actually don't like my Valakut matchup that much. I feel like Valakut can just get really insanely lucky sometimes. And I used to have Spreading Seas, but I found that like the best way for me to beat Valakut is to get to a Tezzeret as soon as possible, because I don't have a lot of early pressure, but early pressure is what beats Valakut typically. And I can just put a lot of numbers on the board really quickly, like we saw in the third game there.
Exactly. I mean, we looked at your list, we're like, we think this might be a little rough against Valakut, but if you just had Tezzeret, I mean, you can just kill them in 2 turns, 20-0, 2 turns.
Yeah, and so the trick is just mulliganing aggressively to find a Preordain or find a Tezzeret and find the mana to get to it, and possibly a Chalice. I had a Preordain in that last game where my Preordain was Chalice Inkmoth Nexus when I had 3 lands, and I put both on the bottom even though I needed the Chalice because I didn't have the Tezzeret yet, and I drew another Darkslick Shores, so I had the 4th land, and then eventually I got to the Tezzeret and I was able to pressure him fast enough.
You have no main deck discard spells. Do you feel that hurts your matchups at all, or do you just sideboard?
Really, I think my black-blue control matchup's actually kind of abysmal, honestly. But like, I can kill out of nowhere. Like with Tezzeret, that's a 5 damage that nobody counts on, and Blast is usually a 4 damage that nobody counts on. I played a match at F&M last night where I was playing against black-blue control, and he memorialized my Tezzerets on turn 4, and I hit him with a Tar Pit and a Blast, and he untaps and slams a Liliana. Then the next turn I hit him with a Tar Pit, I pass, and then he untaps, plays a tap land, slams a Batterskull. In a turn I blast him, untap, blast, and Tar Pit him. So it's like, you kind of have to try to, outplay them or hope they kind of mess up a little bit, because black-blue control's pretty rough. I used to have Duress on the board, but there's just a lot of cards that I want that I can't play, obviously. So, I mean, Inquisition is... I really don't have that much that I bring in against Cobb because, like you said, it's a bunch of creature control, and I sort of work towards my combo kill. So Inquisition is like a good discard spell for me to bring in against Cobb because it might grab the first Squadron Hog and slow them down insanely, So.
How do you feel about your Splinter Twin matchup? We see those 2 spell guys in the main deck.
My Splinter Twin matchup, I feel like I can't lose because, like,
really?
the thing about Twin is they have so many counter spells like Dispels and whatnot for all the instants, like Dismembers and whatnot, and I have like 10 ways to answer it that are permanent. I have 2 Brittle Effigies that as long as that's out there, they can't combo. I have 2 Spell Skites as long as that's out there, they can't combo.
Exactly.
And Blast is like a Dismember as long as I have enough artifacts. So it's, and I don't have to pay the 4 life for it.
Yeah.
Tumble Magnet will buy a turn. In the main deck, I board out the Black Suns usually. Just depends on their build. In the main deck, I have Tumble Magnets, which can tap the Deceiver, obviously to buy me a turn to Black Sun it away. I have a lot of game. I mean, obviously that's not optimal, but if I have to, I have to. And then once I come out of the board, I have 3 Torpor Orbs. I have a 3rd Spellskite. I also have the 2 Inquisitions, and I have 2 Ratchet Bombs that I bring in. And then I'm sitting at 3 Spellskites, 3 Torpor Orbs, and 2 Ratchet Bombs, 2 Brittle Effigies. I mean, I've got over 10 artifacts that, as long as they're on the board, they can't combo.
Yeah, I mean, and so, it seems like you're in quite a good position against them. How do you... what matchups do you not want to play against then? You said blue-black control.
Really just blue-black control. Probably blue-white. It depends. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of big blue-white. Like Caw really comes down to, it's a lot of 1-for-1s back and forth, and it really comes down to who can hit that late game Ponder or Preordain first. Sometimes, like, the reason I don't play Caw is because I feel like it's a really consistent deck, but it doesn't have... If you were to take your 7 cards you want in Caw and put them in your hand, you're not doing anything ostensibly powerful. Sure. You're playing a Hawk, and then you've got tempo counters up, and maybe play a sword. And, your cards are all going to be pretty fair, but it's a consistent deck. Whereas, like, my optimal draw, I mean, I've done this before, is, you go turn 1, land Effigy, and then you go untap, turn 2, play a Chalice on 1, or land Preordain, turn 2, play a Chalice on 1, tap it, play an Effigy, play an Opal, tap Preordain. You can just do so many powerful things, and that's
Tezzeret next turn or something.
Right, and that's why I like this deck, because you're not just playing a consistent grind. You're just, sometimes you're doing that, but sometimes you're playing really powerful. So there's a lot of games against Caw where they tap out to Preordain, tap out to Squadron Hawk, or play a Colonnade, where you get to slam like a Chalice on turn 2, and you resolve a Clasp a couple turns later, and you just nullify all their counter magic because you send that Clasp up to where they can't Spell Pierce or Mana Link anything. So
lastly, I think one of the big things we noticed is there's only 2 Inkmoth Nexus. Now, traditionally, Nexus is a pretty big card. You combo with Tezzeret for a 2-card kill. Like, it's very good with your clasps. Do you feel like it's too slow now, or does it not do enough?
No, the Nexus, actually, the 2 Nexuses is actually, I think, the perfect number. Nexus is a card I like a lot. If I was, that's one of my main, like, one of the reasons I kind of want to move to blue-black is because I can play 4 of them, because I find a lot of my wins come from these 2 Nexuses, which is weird, because that's the only way I can put poison on my opponent, but I find myself poisoning a lot of my opponents out. I don't use the 5/5 Nexus kill a lot, because that's just way too vulnerable to Dismember, swing back, kill your Tezzeret. But this Nexus is really good versus sometimes you get this in your opener against blue-black control, and you just slam them for 1 at any point when they're tapped out, just in the first couple turns. And they'll usually Memoriaside Tezzerets away, and then you're really light on win conditions. You just stick a clasp, and they don't have any way to deal with artifacts. I mean, I had a blue-black control player who had to Volition Reigns my clasp one time. So I mean, they just really don't have any way to deal with it, and that's where the Nexuses come into play. They're also really good for when you hit. They're really good for. I think you saw me do that in like game 2 where I animated the Nexus to get my Metalcraft to use my Mox Opal.
Yeah, definitely.
They're really good for enabling like. The reason I have Brittle Effigy at all is because it's a 1-cost artifact, and if I play a turn 2 Chalice, if I have a Nexus in play when I play a turn 2 Chalice and I play Mox Opal, I can use that 1 mana to animate Nexus, and then I have Metalcraft and I can use my Opal. Right. So the Effigies and the Nexuses are the 4 cards that cost 1 to make artifacts, and that allows you to get that fast Opal draw.
Yeah, definitely.
But obviously, it's not a centerpiece of the deck, but it's definitely something the deck can do, and it's just it's all around. There's plenty of ways to attack with the deck, and I've gone through these numbers a lot, and it's just you just want to be able to work with whatever hand you have. So. Yeah,
I mean, speaking of the numbers, real fast, all the anything you'd change. You play this deck a ton. Mm-hmm. You're 3 rounds into this tournament. You've kind of seen the metagame. You've played some matches. Anything you would change?
Really, I think the main is just about where I want to be. I tried a couple cards out in a few tournaments the past couple weeks. I mean, this is my exact 60 from Chicago 4 weeks ago.
Okay, fair enough.
I tried a couple cards out, and it just, I always go back. I tried to play like one new Chandra over a Clasp, and it just cost me. I wasn't able to get my Metalcraft as easy, and just, I mean, everything that I've done as far as that, I mean, this is the main deck that I'm happy with. I played Ratchet Bomb main before, but I just feel like, I've cut a Prism and played something, but I just feel like these 2/2/2s and 4s are just, really just streamlined. And then out of my board, I might change a couple cards on the board, but I feel like, after seeing the results from Pittsburgh and seeing everything is just, there's really not any innovations. The only thing different was Active Treason and like pod decks, which I don't really care about, and like Dragon Master Outcast out of the board and Splinter Twin, which just means I'd have to leave more clasps in. Yeah. So. It's I just feel like my board's right and my main deck's right, so it's just I like the one change I made today is I had a Slagstorm and I changed it for a Doomblade. I found that versus claw matches sometimes they'll just really go aggressive, and you need to hit a sweeper, and I only have 2 Black Suns, so I needed to hit that Slagstorm. But I figured Doomblade can take care of Consecrated Sphinx in addition to Brittle Effigy, and I'd rather have another answer to that guy, and it also can take care of a Mirror Angel. And if I really have a problem with a Mirror Angel, I'll board in my Ratchet Bombs in that matchup too. So
very cool. Well, I love the deck. Very cool. Glad to see you at 3-0. Hopefully you make top 8 and see this make some splashes. I'd love to see something like this. Obviously, last tournament's going to matter. Season, but I told everybody this would be the tournament we finally found the deck that solved the format. Yeah. But I like what I see, and I'm excited to see you play some more. Hopefully, get some more rematches under the camera. It was great talking with you, Phil. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
And catch up with you in a little bit.
All right, it's good talking to you.
All right, good talking to you too. Take care.